It has been 3 months since Mario Kart World officially released, and there has been multiple talking points, I suppose, since it's released, and I kind of wanted to look at where the game's at 3 months on from its release, or I guess just over 3 months from its release, on the 5th of June. So, let's start off with, I think, the negatives, because I think this is what a lot of people maybe are interested in, and so let's just get into it. So, one of the main negatives to me, immediately, is the, I suppose, lack of customization within the online modes. So, online, you cannot choose whether or not you're going to be doing a intermission race or a relap race or, like, you know, a traditional Mario Kart race. Now, this is something which I think it's fair to say that I have talked about my fair share on this. But again, I think this is kind of the main talking point, is that you can't really choose that, and you know, every single online lobby you go into, you get a choice of about 3 different tracks and you have to pick them, rather than being able to pick a specific track or anything like that. And so in that sense, I see that as a negative, and I think it's something which, again, I really hope that at some point they go on to change, but I think Nintendo have done it this way deliberately, and they probably won't change it. So, you know, that's a negative that may never get fixed, if you want to call it that. So, let's move on to something else, which is a criticism, but it's more something that's not in the game that, again, may be added, and that is 200cc's. This was something that was introduced in Mario Kart 8. I want to say Deluxe, but it might just be Mario Kart 8 in general. So obviously you have your 3 standard Mario Kart, well, CC classes, which is, what, 50, 100, 150. And then I guess you also have Mirror as well, which is Mirror but 150. Point being is that 200 was new for Mario Kart 8, and it was loved because it was fast-paced, it had everything going for it, right? Like, mainly the fast-pacedness, if that's a word, of it, because of the fact having all this fast-paced action, it was just a bit more fun. The whole thing with Mario Kart is that I think a lot of people will agree with me here that the 50cc mode just isn't fun. It's too slow-paced, right? And 150, that is fun because it's faster paced, right? And then 200 is even faster than that, so that's going to be even more fun, naturally. And so I think this is something which a lot of people will likely want to see within the game at some point, but ultimately, you know, it's not in the game at the moment. Is it a major criticism or something that I am majorly upset about? I can't say that I am. I'm having fun with the game, which, again, I think is maybe something which I should have prefaced at the start of this video, is that 3 months on from when this game released, I'm still playing it and I'm still having fun. I know that's not true of absolutely everybody, but it's true of me, and so to me that's a good thing, right? It was an expensive game as well. That was another major criticism, which I'll get onto, is that I'm still playing it, and to me that means it was worth it. But before we get into the cost, I think another criticism which a lot of people maybe have is that the CPU got nerfed in certain updates, and essentially it just means that where it was very difficult at one point, it's now slightly easier. I personally still find offline the hardest Mario Kart I've ever played, in that I am struggling sometimes to always win races offline because of the fact that the CPU is difficult in comparison to what it was. Certainly I'm not having as much difficulty as what I was, in that when I first got the game, I really struggled with beating the CPU. I mean, I wouldn't say struggled, I still got decent placement, but I wouldn't always win. And I think, basically, Nintendo maybe got a bit scared that if, well, adults are struggling to beat the CPU in what is essentially a game for children, it's not exactly a good thing, because children want to win, right? Like, obviously you need to give them enough of a challenge so that they feel like they've earned it, but you kind of want to make it so that the children can win, right? And so making the game too difficult probably wasn't the best idea, but ultimately I see it as more of a criticism that they haven't, because I think the thing is that some people don't have the online mode, right? And online is very difficult. No one's denying that, right? Because you're against actual people. And usually I think most rooms are actually based on your like rank or rating or whatever it is. Like I don't think it's an ELO rating, it's just a rating. But I think that is, you know, each room you go into is based on that, and therefore you're kind of getting skill-based matchmaking. And naturally that means that, you know, you're against people either of your ability or of similar ability, and that makes things very difficult in that you kind of have to win by being very skillful, very tactical. And yeah, that's pretty much my point on that, is that the offline mode, you don't get that option, right? You just get hard CPU, but it's not that hard, or it wasn't. No, it's not now, but it was at one point, is what I was trying to say. Anyway, onto the final sort of negative thing you could say, is obviously the cost, which I was talking about. So, to my knowledge, I think this was 65 great British pounds on its own. Right now, you could get the bundle with Nintendo Switch 2, which is what I did. Or it might have been 70 pounds. I don't know. It was expensive, is kind of the point. And a lot of people are very rightly critical of this, because I don't think that video games should cost as much as this. I think it's ridiculous that they cost so much. That said, I do still think that this was fun, right? Like, I am still having fun with Mario Kart. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still playing it. And especially if they're going to add in more updates, which they are doing. Again, I'll get to some of the positives. I don't think it's too bad, but that is as someone who is an adult, right? If you're a kid and you're asking your parents to go and buy you a 65 to, what, like £70 game, and it's this Mario Kart, where, again, there are very much correct criticisms, that's the one, of the game. It's very difficult to justify that much money, but ultimately, to me, as someone who knows I'm going to play it, I don't see the cost as being too bad. I would probably have paid more for it. Hell, I basically bought the console for the game, and therefore I technically spent like £500 on it because I bought the console as well, so make of that what you will, but the point is, I do enjoy it, but maybe not everyone will. So let's go on to some positives though. And one of the main positives to me is that there has already been a decent flow of updates and bug fixes. Mainly bug fixes, but like, and some of the updates I will say, again, I've made videos on them and they're not great all the time, but like, the bug fixes in particular is huge because of the fact, obviously with Mario Kart, if you're going to have bugs in the game, either people are going to exploit them or they're going to be game breaking, right? Like, in a bad way. So, the fact that they have actually unfixed it again, it sounds ridiculous to praise a game for fixing its issues, but there are games out there that will not do this, and so, essentially, I am praising Nintendo for doing the absolute bare minimum with this, but still, I think the steady stream of updates is a good thing, and hopefully eventually, as I have mentioned, we will get some DLC, we will get some additional content that will make this a more enjoyable game. Another positive is that, again, with these updates, we are now getting more and more customizations. And this is something which I sort of mentioned negative. It's now becoming a positive slowly. You know, offline or even in online rooms now, you can start to do things like no CPU races or mushrooms only and items. I do think eventually they need to do what they did in Mario Kart 8, where you can just pick out the items that you want to have on and off and everything. Because I think that would be more fun, personally. But again, at the moment, I think it's clear that they're kind of just slowly adding in new bits of content, maybe to keep the game's lifespan going longer. Because if they included everything on release, who's to say that the game would actually still have a fan base, right? Because of the fact you release a game with everything perfectly polished, all the options already in there, there is a point to be made that people might just get bored eventually. Whereas if you keep on adding new things, people will keep on going back to try out said new things. So that's just an argument for it. Again, ultimately, I suppose both of these positives have kind of been me saying, hey, look, this is something that's kind of bad, or the bare minimum, but I'm praising them for it. But, you know, it's up to you how you perceive what I'm saying. But to me, one of the main positives of Mario Kart World is the online. It is a far better experience than what Mario Kart 8's online experience was. I think you don't notice lag quite as much as what you would have on Mario Kart 8. Now, I didn't actually play Mario Kart 8 online, but I have seen a ton of videos of it, and it can be pretty funny and pretty glitchy, and so I do think that the polishing has really helped. I think that's, like I say, one of the ultimate main positives to this. And then the final thing that I will talk about is some of the positives that I wasn't really expecting to actually be so positive. In that, well, there was a lot of, you know, conversation over them before the game came out, so, or maybe not even after the game, before the game came out, maybe after. So the first one is the rewind mechanic in single player. I don't use this personally, but it's a cool little thing, basically. Well, essentially, you can use it to correct mistakes, which can be very useful in the offline modes because of the fact, particularly with the free roam mode, there is a lot of different, you know, P-switch missions, stuff like that to do. And sometimes you just want to do something and not have to keep on resetting, going back, driving to the same place, try it over and over again. And I think it can basically lead to some sort of like funny and almost like exploitable things, but like not exploitable in a harmful way, like exploitable in a good way, right? Like where you can kind of test out glitches, or not even glitches, just fun things within the game without having to waste a lot of time because you can just rewind. And I think that is a cool little feature that I like. Albeit, like I say, I don't really use it myself, but it's there, and I think that's a positive. I think another positive is, of course, the open world, the exploration of it all. That is something which people were discussing for a long time. I do think it's a strength in the end. They have got a lot of things going on in the open world that I do like. Now, I think it's fair to say that it's gimmicky and everything, but it was always going to have a gimmick. I think the point is that if Mario Kart World was kind of just another Mario Kart 8 with different tracks, maybe a slightly few different mechanics, because I have said before, I like the wall riding mechanics, the grinding mechanics, all of that. And, you know, if that was all that Mario Kart World was, then there is maybe a point to be made that it would still be good, but I mean, the point is that Mario Kart always needs a new sort of gimmick to keep it fresh, and I think that's what Mario Kart World has done, and it has done it very well. One of the final points I will praise is something which isn't really unexpected, but the actual polish and visual presentation of the game. It looks really good, and it runs really well on the Switch too. It's very well optimized, as you would expect from a Nintendo-published game. And yeah, overall, I think it's very good. So yeah, I've talked sort of about the things that I would like to see moving forward, particularly DLCs and just free expansions as well. I think is going to be kind of huge, is just whether that's like some more characters, or even like some events within the game, I think would be very cool. And yeah, I think one of the final things that I need to point out though is I've mentioned again about the cost and how maybe trickling out updates is actually maybe a good thing in that it keeps long-term engagement. I think they still need to ensure that there is long-term engagement with the game, whether that be through free updates, whether that be paid updates, whatever it may be. I think there needs to be constant support for this game because of the fact Mario Kart as a franchise is huge and it needs support. It needs updates, and I think they're doing that, but they need to keep up with that, right? They need to do that so that in a year's time we're still playing it. In multiple years' time, we are still playing it. So yeah. That's my thoughts on Mario Kart World 3 months on from when it released, or just over 3 months on from when it released. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and bye.